Hi, welcome to Glasp Talk. Today we have Nina, and professional writer and influencer on Medium, Twitter, and so on. And thank you. Welcome, Nina.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. It's my pleasure to be here and be talking to you guys and the audience.
Thanks so much. So yeah, so we know who you are, but I think some of our audience doesn't know you yet. So if you don't mind, could you introduce yourself, what you do and what you write about and what you care about to our audience?
Absolutely, I would love to do that. So, hi everyone. I'm Neeramitra Reddy. I'm a 12-time top writer on Medium. I started writing on Medium as a hobby, and then quickly it turned into a way for me to document whatever I'm doing in life, and it also became a way to fuel everything else I was doing. It was like a nice loop where the writing was feeding into my life, and my life was feeding into my writing. I ended up being ranked number one in fitness, number one in productivity, number one in self improvement, and a couple of other categories for a few months in a row. And I'm also an editor on Medium. I'm a Boost nominator as well there. So I'm quite involved inside the Medium ecosystem. So yeah, I think what I do is I live life. I try to live my life better, and I document it all through my writing on Medium. That's I would say what I do.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, that's impressive. You have more than 5,000 followers on Medium and so on. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
really impressive. Yeah, and And I know your story. You had some difficult time in your life, before, and started Muay Thai and so on. So could you also briefly tell us your kind of why did you start writing and what happened and what you studied at college and and so.
Yeah. Thank you for that. So writing is a thing. It was one of those things that I used to love when I was a kid. Books was something that I grew up with. My mother used to read to me in preschool, and it turned into a hobby that I picked up children magazines and then kids' books and so on. It was something that has always been there. And yeah, writing for me was an outlet in the beginning to share when I started getting into the self improvement space. I lost weight. I was a bit overweight earlier. I lost around 50 pounds in 6 months, and then that triggered the spark that led to the entire self improvement side of things, fitness, socialization, speaking well, or all those side of things. I began writing online as a way to spread my message, spread my transformation and inspire people. And it was very low key in the beginning. I had no idea what it would turn into. Then I found Medium. I used to write on Quora earlier. On Quora, I hit a couple of milestones with just 100 answers. I hit around, I think I'm sitting at 7 million views. So yeah,
Mm.
most of my answers went viral again and again and again. And then I switched over to Medium after a while. I had grown in life. I had matured in life. My insights had matured. My writing style had become more nuanced and deeper and more structured. Yeah, I fell in love with Medium. I loved the game initially of just growing and finding my voice, reaching out to writers. And soon over time, it came to a point where I had to choose between my 9 to 5 job and writing as a whole. It was a hard dive for me after a year of doing both parallelly. So then I chose to quit my job. I used to work in tech. Sorry, I totally missed that part. I studied software engineering. I studied computer science in college in one of the top universities in the country. I loved my job, but then I loved writing more. So I had to choose between two things that
Mm.
were pretty evenly stacked in terms of the payoffs. Yeah, since then I've had the chance to go deeper into the spirituality side of things, meditation and inner work and self-understanding. So right now, the way I view life itself is a holistic thing where I don't see any difference between work and life. So what I do in a way feeds my work, and what my work is a reflection of what I'm doing in life. So I'm still trying to figure out that equation. I'm trying to see how the inner sits with the outer and how work sits with life, how let's say spirituality sits with practicality. But yeah, I think that is the life story so far.
Interesting. Yeah. Thank you for sharing. So yeah, you're sharing for your experience and learning on Cola at first, and you turned into becoming a media writer, right?
Hmm.
So so when was that? So when did you start writing on Medium? So
Yeah, I started writing on Medium in September of 2020. So that's
Mhm.
around 3.5 years ago.
3.5. Yeah.
Yeah, 3.5 years ago. And yeah, in the beginning, it took me a lot of time to get started and sort of, take off. I would say I didn't take off. I was a struggling writer until 7 months in. So yeah, it's been quite some time now.
Mm. It's amazing. So you spent only like 3.5 years. So since you started on Medium, but you already have almost 40,000 followers on Medium. So it's so lucky to work. Like I think
um,
so. Yeah. Yeah.
it's rather interesting because much of the growth happened in the last year. So
Mhm.
I remember sitting on, I think, 25,000 followers when I was, I think, September last year, if I'm not wrong.
Mhm.
So in the span of 7 months, I've gained for another 14,000. So I tend to
Mhm.
think that the online writing game is rigged in a way where compounding is where the magic really happens. Like, I know it's a cliche, everyone says it, but I remember gaining 100, 200, 100, 200, 300, 400 followers throughout for a long, long time, for 2.5 years. And then boom, in 1 month, I think I gained 6,000. And right now, I've taken a step back from writing and figuring some things out internally. But had I continued on the trajectory, I would say maybe even 100K by the end of 2024. So it's a very exponential game. It's slow in the
Yeah.
beginning, but once you figure the ropes out, once you sort of know people within the ecosystem, other writers, other editors, once you start getting what I call a feel for the platform itself, right? That where does the platform want to go? What is the underlying thing that the readers are looking for? I think that's true for every platform, Twitter as well. I've seen people just
Mhm.
grow slowly and then just like shoot into the skies. So yeah, it's pure compounding.
Interesting. So yeah, you know what? Yeah, I think you understand what the algorithm or Medium want to do, and so you just maybe align with what Medium want to publish to our audience. Interesting. But so you doubled your followers in just 1 year, so it's impressive. Interesting. And
Yeah,
and I'm curious, have you thought about like using other writing platforms? Because there are many like a writing platform and Substack and
yeah.
other newsletter platforms. Have you thought about it when you started?
Yeah, that's interesting. When I started, I didn't even know you could get paid on Medium. I knew I was a reader on Medium for quite some time. I love that. Okay, there's this platform which has an aesthetic reading experience where it's all beautifully formatted and there's that clean, minimal sense, right? While every other corner of the internet is usually you have ads poking their faces out here, there, and everywhere else. So part of the appeal was I loved reading on Medium, and I just wrote for the sake of writing in the beginning. Then I figured out that there's something called the partner program, and you could earn for your writing, all that. And that was mind blowing. I was like, okay, this is a game at this point. In the beginning, it was purely a Medium game for me. I didn't look outside for other platforms. I thought I needed to hit become a big writer. And the definition of a big writer for me has changed over time repeatedly. There's a point, Medium is a place where it's hard to gain followers. So if anyone hasn't been on there, it's unlike other platforms where, the follower growth here, 1,000 followers mean a lot, even 1,000 views mean a lot in terms of how much you get paid since it's a subscription platform. So yeah, part of me thought, okay, once I hit 10,000 followers, I'll be decently big enough to branch out, and then that number has shifted to 100K now. I did try branching out to Twitter for a while. I didn't like it. I didn't enjoy splitting my focus between multiple platforms. And Substack, I believe personally, is a place where it's best to be if you have an overarching single perspective. I believe I'm too young in life and too unformed as of now to come with a singular philosophy of life itself, like a singular understanding of what matters in life, what values matter, or what is the way that first principle thing. I could be wrong, but I believe people who have figured that out, who have that singular focus, are better suited to run a Substack. It's more linear. I wanted a place. I'm a multidisciplinary person. I have interests that lie across various fields. I love tech. I love AI. I love self improvement. I love spirituality. I read books, and I'm into fitness as well. And yeah, now I'm getting into martial arts since the last year or two. So for this, I needed a platform that did not impose any limits on what I could write. Like no restrictions on, okay, write this and you'll get paid. I can write anything I want in any topic I want, whatever length I want, at whatever frequency I choose, and still get paid for it directly without having to pitch services or sell products or all that. So I think that freedom for me, especially living in a country like India where the dollar money goes a long way because of purchasing power parity, yeah, it's priceless. I don't find that anywhere else. That's the only reason I haven't looked elsewhere. I have my grief points with Medium as well, but then there is no alternative for it right now. That is the way the internet is as of now, as far as I know.
Thank you.
Yeah, but yeah, focusing on one topic, so linear growth, yeah, it totally makes sense. So, and you're writing on various topics of Medium. So, but so we'd like to know how you, what is your writing for? So, where do you find ideas to write, and where do you keep ideas to like write next, and what is a like writing platform for you? In general, so writing flow.
That's a good question. That's an excellent question. What is a right-wing platform to me? That's writing is a form of self-expression for me. Not completely, because we are all bound by the by the mercy of social media algorithms and platform algorithms and reader preferences and what readers find relatable and all that. But then amidst all these forces, at its core, writing for me is this way of expressing myself itself. So that is why I don't like. I've never liked niching myself into a singular, tight niche. I wanted the freedom to be completely open to explore whatever I choose. I could go down any route I want in life, and I view writing as this constant companion that I'll have no matter what I do. I don't even view it as a profession. So even I struggle when I tell people that okay, I write for a living now. I view that as a meta thing. I believe writing is best as a documentation or as a reporting thing. Okay, I'm doing something in life now. I want to document that, or I've done something in life now. I want to report that or derive something from it. Experiences and all that. So yeah, I view writing as a way of communicating with the world in a way, way of floating out my consciousness in some senses. Um, yeah, the desire for views, money, impact, and growth as well. I admit that I fall prey to all of that. But speaking at an overall sense, that is the ideal for me. Writing as a way of communicating with the world, my voice and having my, yeah.
Right, so writing is a communication with the audience. And so by sharing what you learned so through Medium, so through writing, so yeah, anyone can learn from you. And so it resonates with us because our mission is like sharing people's knowledge. So as a digital legacy for future generations. So yeah, I resonate with you. So, but so where do you keep ideas so to write on so the next? So I read your Medium articles and I thought that I saw a lot of like quotes like by Steve Jobs or like so those quotes. So where do you keep those quotes? And so maybe there are a lot of ideas you want to write down. So maybe okay next. So I will write about habits. So I will write about like fiction reading, something like that. So where do you keep so ideas to write on and quotes?
I smile because I'm probably the worst person to ask this question to. I don't, as a writer, when I was in the beginning stages of my writing phase, right? Since I've stuck to one platform for so long, and I'm just used to. I've written 600 plus articles now, so there isn't this algo hacking thing anymore. As of now, since I'm used to writing long form, I'm used to writing a certain way. I don't research at all. I don't research. I don't jot down ideas or I don't brainstorm. It's almost like I have way too many ideas to write about. It's not a question of what do I write about next, but then which ones of the ones do I choose and write about. I I basically just jot down every idea that comes. Article titles usually they come in the form of headlines. Sometimes, as with today, right before the interview, I got an idea just came to me and I just sat down to write it. So inspiration is around the place. I don't look for ideas anymore. I get enough to, and that's also because Medium right now is a low frequency platform. You don't need to write a lot. You just need to write high quality stuff. Even if it is just once a week, twice a week, that's more than enough. So for that, I just maintain a rough way in my drafts and probably in my notes as well, and in WhatsApp and everywhere else. And it depends on what kind of article I'm writing. If it is an article which involves free flow, where it is mostly a personal narrative without a lot of research involved, then I just like sit and write fully. Then I edit it later, add the quotes in, add the research in, and all of that later on. So the article itself is built out first. But sometimes when I write something which involves research, I do it parallelly. It's not optimal, but it does work. So I research, I see what all studies I can reference, then I sort of form a narrative around the studies itself. If I have to reference this particular study or quote something, I want to see where the quote fits in, where the study fits in, and I'll shape the entire section so that it flows coherently. It takes a lot of time. I'm a very slow editor. I take my time with editing my articles. I write fast, I write very fast, but the editing is usually slow. I polish way too much. I have a bit of a perfectionism, probably stemming from early life trauma. I don't know the source, but I have this feeling that okay, it has to be to my standards. It doesn't matter if I feel it is good enough to go out. It has to be polished again and again and again, and without a single typo, just the right word, just the right image. So yeah, I do a lot of that, and I spend an incriminating amount of time on editing, which is not optimal at all.
So like how long so does it take so to write and edit?
It really depends. My highest earning article ever so far, which has made I think $5,700, and that took me around 30 hours to write, if I'm not wrong, or write, edit, and publish, like polish and publish. But that's an outlier. That's one of the few exceptions where the time put into it was worth it. Most of the times, I wrote an article recently which took 50 hours to put together. It was a full
50 hours,
blown,
okay.
5-0. Others take 4 hours, some take 3, some takes 2. So it ranges between 2 to 50. I know that's a vast range, but yeah, depends on the length of the article and the amount of research it takes and all of that.
So when in editing, I'm just curious, as a creator, I know editing takes time, you come up many ideas and so on, but what part, at what point do you think, oh, this is ready? And what makes you think, this is ready or to publish? Because at some point
That,
you gotta publish, right?
yeah. No, you're right. I understand what you're saying. I think what I'm looking for is coherence. Whenever I write something, I want it all to flow in a seamless manner. So when I just feel that this entire flow isn't there, right, I do get stuck up in individual sections, and that's a mistake. That is where I think many of those 30, 50 hour um, expeditions happen in terms of writing. Ideally speaking, if I could set aside my own fear, my own frustration, and or inoptimal timing when I sit down to write, when I'm sitting down to edit, the mental state I'm in, my own self sabotage, and all that, maybe even those articles shouldn't have taken more than 15 to 20 hours. But to answer your question, at what point is it ready? I think it just comes to a point where I know, okay, the curators are going to love it. If it was a piece that I wrote for, there's something called boost curation on Medium. We'll get into that more, where a couple of hand-picked curators across the world, they look at articles and they give you a stamp of approval. If it's really high quality, then it's just like blasted out into the stratosphere. So if you get a boost, you earn, I think, 3 to 4x more. The article goes out to more people, and yeah, all of that. Like, it's literally what the term signifies. So I look for that. If I've written for boost, I read a lot of stuff which might be very click inducing, like a strong headline, but I know consciously that I'm not writing it for the boost at all. I do not want this to be boosted. If it is, it will be a surprise. Such articles, I think the bar is much lower. Is it helpful? Is it useful? Is it good intentioned? I look for that. Will it genuinely help whoever I'm intending it to help? And in the end, if I'm really satisfied with the headline and the image, this doesn't take much time, doesn't take much iteration. And yeah, I just like finish it out and ship it out. I don't really think too much about, I don't have a criteria that way. But if it is for boost, then I start thinking about the sort of minutiae everywhere. Will this potentially cause a disqualification? Can I add another section which will like beef this entire thing up? Have I made strong claims anywhere? Have I made, things that are absolutist, not nuanced, not truthful, right? To sound more convincing. I look for these minor things, creases and wrinkles everywhere. And yeah, with that, the minor things, I correct them. I maybe add disclaimers at some places. I maybe cite research wherever I have to. It's a very careful examination. So when I feel that the article is safe and the headline is clickable enough, I think that's when I ship it out, if it is for boost.
I see. And do you use AI tools? Because nowadays people are using ChatGPT, AI writing, like platforms and etc. And do you use any AI? Because you're a software engineer. You were used to be a software
Yeah.
engineer. Technology, software engineering, and so on. Do you use them, or if
I
so,
use
how
it in
could you
a
use it?
Yeah, I use it in a weird way. I mean, I even write about AI. A couple of my most popular articles are about ChatGPT, even two or three of them. One was a conversation with PhiloGPT. Like I just primed ChatGPT into a philosophy bot, and I discussed philosophy with it. That was a hit. People loved it. The curators loved it. I wasn't expecting at all. Then I wrote one more about actual advanced ChatGPT use cases, which I use and which are prompt templates and all that. So rather than using ChatGPT, I even write about ChatGPT. So I've earned a couple of $1,000 just from writing about it and leveraging it as itself. But how I use it is I'm writing an article talking about how I actually use ChatGPT in my daily life, right? Not just how you can be used in a hypothetical, might be sense, but genuinely how I use it. One of the use cases for me is I use it as a professional go-to thing. Like whenever I have something that I'm stuck in, like a loop, maybe there's a sentence I'm trying to optimize and I'm just not getting it right. There's that uh, that feel that okay, this sentence sounds right. I just read it out to myself. Whenever I find myself getting stuck in such loops, when I'm not finding the right enough word, not finding the right enough phrase, I use it for looking for quotes also, ChatGPT. Then I just go to ChatGPT for all of that. I just paste it and I'm like, yeah, can you fix this up for me? Suggest me 10 variants. I usually never pick what it has suggested, but it always gives me ideas to improve it. I always end up on my final variant much faster than if I were to sit and refine it myself. I just outsource that. It comes down to something interesting. We humans are better at recognition than at recollection. So in a way, when I see what I like, right, rather than me trying to create it into existence or something close to that because of ChatGPT suggestions, then I find it easier. I might not find a quote which I'll want. That's another use case apart from this fixing creases and stuck up points. I just sometimes paste entire sections into ChatGPT and ask like, what kind of quotes would you suggest which would fit well with this? And ChatGPT is a notorious liar, so you have to make sure that you Google the quotes yourself and make sure that actual people said it. That's one more use case I use it for. I sometimes use it for checking grammar that even Grammarly misses. Some sentences feel off. I get a signal that okay, this is grammatically right, but then I know for certain that this is not. This does not sound right to me. So then I ask ChatGPT, is this grammatically correct? And then it picks out nuanced things which even Grammarly misses. Um, yeah, usually
Actually,
these.
I do that. Yeah, I use
Yeah.
ChatGPT for that purpose. Yeah, sometimes.
It does. It is. It's very helpful. So yeah, I use it in that way. I don't have any structure in terms of what I use ChatGPT. I never use it to outline. I never use it for headlines. It's terrible at outlining. It's terrible at headlining. But it's an excellent editing assistant. So I wouldn't recommend ChatGPT for writing at all to anyone. But if you want to edit it, if you have written something and you want editing help here and there, fixing certain paragraphs up, even sections up, I have like a whole couple of paras and I just don't like them at all. So ask it to make it more concise. I don't use it again, but I always use it for inspiration. I get ideas. There are certain sentences where I've I actually congratulated ChatGPT saying that okay, that was really brilliant of you. It's a bit of a personification for me. I view ChatGPT as this trusty virtual assistant of sorts, and that's why I use it as well.
See. Thank you. Yeah, thanks for sharing. And you've been so if Kay has a question, that's okay. Yeah.
Oh yeah, sorry for cutting. So, but AI is gonna replace human writers. So our audience are like most of like writers, included writers, aspiring writers. So
Hmm.
So if you are like giving an advice, so piece of advice to aspiring writers, so what would you, give an advice? So in this like AI future, so
That's a good question. One of the things I struggle with really was identity. Sounds odd because the term writing itself or being an online writer has such a vast blanket of meanings, like a whole umbrella of meanings that it's very easy to get caught up and be confused at some point. You start looking at people who are going down vastly different routes. That happened to me because as a writer, once you start getting a name for yourself, you start getting good traffic. Then the question becomes, what do you do next? Do you go back and sell a writing course? Do you start an online business? Do you sell services? Do you sell services as a writer, as a freelance writer, or as an editor, as a ghostwriter, or as a copywriter? Or do you just continue writing what you like, pitching to big journalism houses, getting syndicated by Forbes and Fatherly and HuffPost and all these big places, right? Or do you start looking into books and you start looking onto as to how to land literary agents and all that? So fundamentally, there comes this fork in the road. In the beginning, it's a rather simple game. Pick a platform, pick one platform, try to get to a certain cutoff number of followers, get into the habit of writing every day. The absolute basics. There are many cohorts making illegal amounts of money. I don't mean illegal in the traditional sense, but generally because of preying on people's fears and aspirations to be writers. You don't need all of that. You just go to the platform, you pick out the writers you like, you study what they're doing, you study them to a intense degree, you see what they're doing, you copy paste, and you try to just blast out of that initial beginner hell. Then once you have a writing routine, once you have like an initial grasp of what you're writing, how you're writing, or all of that, after the grind stage, right, then you can start thinking about the other questions, primarily the identity, the question of, do I want to be a writer or do I want to be a content creator, because those are two very different things. Or do I want to be a creator, as they call it now in the creator economy? Or do you want to freelance? Do you want to build this out into an agency based business? So I think primarily at a high level, the choice comes down to just two things. Do I want to be a writer or do I want to be a businessman? Or you could say something like a creator, which is in between, like courses, consulting, and product services. I think once you figure out which of these three paths that we'll go into, then it becomes rather simple. I found myself that I'm not a businessman. I don't like building a business out and using my writing as a funnel. There's nothing wrong with that at all. If that's your type, go for it. But I made the mistake of looking up to wrong people, look and comparing myself with other writers who were businessmen or businesswomen. And I was feeling bad looking at my own stats or my own income goals. So yeah, once I clarified my lane, so to say, okay, this is the lane I'm going into, then things became simple. Then I started following the people I truly wanted to be like in the writing space, maybe write books down the line, or keep putting out into a body of work and build, layer on products on top of it and all that. So my advice for new writers would be, one thing is, if you are going to be a writer and not a businessman, not a content creator, what is crucial is treating it as a extension of yourself, as an expression of yourself. So every article I write, there has to be something of me in it. Otherwise, there's no point in it. If I write an article and if 10 of my readers read it and they're not able to say that, okay, this is what Neeramitra wrote without even looking at my name, then yeah, then you're replaceable. If you don't have that unique factor, that unique voice of yourself, then AI is going to replace you for sure. Don't chase trends. Look at the fundamentals of good writing, which is good thinking, articulation, and yeah, just read a lot, think well, think bravely, and keep at it. That's what I would say for new writers.
Yeah, so that's really great advice. So yeah, we talked a lot of like professionals, like successful professionals, but so every time we see like common things, like focus on one thing and keep doing as a habit, and then you can like get to know what you should do in this platform, or as a writer, as a creator, businessman. Then you can like consider like what doing to like uniquely the next. And so yeah, really great advice. And so, but for you, so yeah, what is your goal, or what do you want to pursue as a writer? So in your life, or in 10 years, something like that. If you
Yeah,
have,
like
yeah.
do you have any numbers, or like the state,
income, yeah,
you want to be,
income.
or
Yeah,
impact,
that's right.
Yeah.
This I could have given you an excellent answer if you had met maybe a year ago, before my foray into more truth exploration and self understanding and all that. Right now my desire for money has pretty much died. That doesn't mean I don't want to earn, but then anything like a monetary goal, right, has become a non-consideration for me. As long as it feeds me, as long as I have something to save, and I live a very minimal lifestyle. I'm simplifying even more. Anything that goes beyond my immediate needs and good quality of life, good food. Yeah, I don't have a monetary goal. Clearly, just sustain my income, sustain my life, have some financial cushion. That's it. In terms of what do I want to do as a writer, I like to think of writing itself as a process of self purification, clarification, in a way where it's not that my quality of writing really only comes from my quality of perception and my quality of life experiences. Perception is how I can look deeper into the normal, and life experiences are how to like create the not abnormal, I would say extraordinary. Like how to find the extraordinary in the ordinary, and how to seek more extraordinary experiences in life. I think those are the two pillars of excellent writing as a whole, transformational writing. To answer your question, in 5 to 10 years, I don't even know if I'll continue writing. Like I'm way more open to life than I used to be. This is not practical. This is not pragmatic advice for anyone at all. Impact drives me as of now. Writing impact definitely is a driver for me. And I also have this, I want to write what I like, self-expression. So I think usefulness, impact, and self-expression are the two things which are the factors. Sort of, there is a friction between them, because many of the times what might be impactful and useful to many people might not be something that I would love writing or I would enjoy writing. But the impact part of it drives me. So the way I look at it right now is, if Medium were to say go bust today, or if my account were to be banned, I would go back to the drawing board. I'm absolutely fine with that decision. I don't have a plan B that way. So since I don't identify as a content creator, businessman type of person, but writing is a revelatory tool for me. I use it to reveal more of myself to the world and to myself too. So it's like a self-reflection tool. It's a self-understanding tool, self-clarification tool. Um, as a writer, my goals, I'm guessing it would be more along the line of what Ryan Holiday has done in terms of his stoicism books, and I I love his books. I love how they are almost like collection of blog articles rather than actual books. Right, actual books are scary for a blogger, for someone who's used to writing 8-minute reads, 15-minute reads. Writing a whole book is challenging and daunting. It's either that, or maybe I might go into the coaching side of things. I do coach now, but then more one-on-one impact, right? I view it as a mix between writing and coaching, or or I could just quit the internet and totally go into maybe working for the government, or so yeah, or just quit everything and become a monk. So I have so many of these potential divergent options right now that yeah, it's not practical again. This is definitely not practical for anyone. But yeah, the way I am is anything that reveals more of myself to myself is the direction I go in. Like anything that gets me closer to my true self. It doesn't matter which vehicle or what path it is. I know this isn't a satisfactory answer, but it is a true answer.
Yeah, thanks for answering sincerely. So I'm just curious, like, do you have anyone so inspiring you, or anyone so you are respecting the most?
Yeah. Online, being in the space, right? I know the dirty reality between behind the things, many of the courses, cohorts. I don't want to blame anyone. I know the game. I know how it's played. I don't blame people for playing the game. I personally have a vendetta against it. I don't like doing it. Maybe there's some inner resentment. So the people I look up to online are likely not to be people most have heard of. There's one creator named Joseph Tange. He goes by the name Masculine Theory on Twitter, on YouTube as well. He has a channel and everything. That's one creator that I admire.
Sorry,
Joseph
what? Sorry,
Tange, yeah. Tinsh.
Joseph Kent.
Masculine Theory is his brand, so you wouldn't know the name, but then the Masculine
Oh,
Theory brand is, yeah,
yeah, I see. You,
yeah.
you
That's
you put
one.
it in your blog, right? Yeah, I see. Yeah.
Yeah,
YouTube
he's a
channel
creator
you love, right?
that I
Mm.
admire. Kalram, again, one more creator, one more person of high, what do you call, integrity. So a lot of these people that I respect online are people that show integrity, that show, doing their own thing, even in the face of not selling out, essentially. Sean Kernan is another writer. I think Sean is more well known. He's Quora's biggest writer, 1 billion views. And Michael Thompson, another storyteller on Medium. Hamza Ahmad is a sensation. Used to be more of an inspiration earlier, but I personally feel he's lost his way a bit. I know he'll bounce back, but then for the present time being, I feel he's fallen off. Got caught in that. Again, this is all very subjective. What I believe is like the wrong way to do things or unethical way to do things or all that, right? But yeah, many of the creators I follow or the ones I admire, the ones inspire me, are not necessarily the ones with the biggest followings, not necessarily the ones with the big name, not the ones making the most money. They're usually more silent creators who most wouldn't have heard of, who inspire me by the. I think there's greatness in doing your own thing without bending to outside pressures and pleasures. So yeah, that's something very inspiring for me, to me.
I see. Yeah, thank you. And you touched on like a really interesting point. You follow and then respect and learn from like the great creators and writers, and they are kind of silent writer. There are some silent
Hmm.
great writers, right? They
Yeah,
don't
yeah,
have any followers. They don't make much money, but
yeah.
they are sharing great, quotes, ideas, and inspirations. And then at the same time, in the other hand, there are some creators. They are really huge followers and making bunch of money, but sometimes you don't get any inspiration or good ideas. And what's the difference? I see this, this so many times and so many places. But why do you think this happens? And then are they the great silent writers are hiding, or I'm just curious about this.
Yeah, that's an excellent question. It's like this is the kind of question I've been dying to answer for a long time. Like put it out on a public forum. Um, so I think it comes down to a fundamental principle. Most people, uh, okay, let me phrase it a different way. I'll say that there is something people want to hear, and there is something people need to hear. Generally, it could be in person or online or one-on-one groups, speeches, anything. And it's extremely rare for someone to nail both. There are people who have nailed both, maybe like David Goggins. There are some extraordinary examples who have found that, when intersection, the tiny intersection of what people want to hear and what they need to hear also. But the great silent writers are the ones who are writing things that people need to hear, but maybe not as willing to. That doesn't appeal to their, primordial brain, the part that controls dopamine and all that. So we live in a click-based economy, right? And there are some who have mastered the art of writing what people want to hear. And the ones, most of them, again, there are exceptions on both ends. There's always exceptions everywhere. But generally speaking, the ones who are like, big and insanely successful across all platforms, they're just killing it everywhere. They have mastered the art of writing what people want to hear. And the ones who are more silent, who are, not as um, what do you call it, as well known, as rich, as wealthy, or as influential, they are the ones who just cannot write what people want to hear, and they don't want to quote unquote sell their ideals or bend to the market, so to say. So they are the ones who are obstinate on writing what they think people need to hear or what they want to write. It's either of these things, these two things. Either people who are writing what people need to hear, or the ones who are writing what they want to say deep down, truthfully. And there is a good overlap for the two. I I wish I could be the kind of I could say that okay, I'm the writer who writes what people need to hear. But no, I think skirt the midline, and it's been a source of inner conflict for quite some time. Even now, it's an incredibly hard line to walk. At one end, you have people pulling you from the want to hear side, and the ones pulling you from the need to hear side, right? So yeah, most of what I write is like a 50-50 mid ground between what I want to write and what people need to hear and what people want to hear. I think that's the best way I can put it.
I see. Yeah, thanks. Yeah, that's really interesting. And it also, that brings another question because you said, writing is like a self-crystallization. Or,
Hmm.
you writing more, then you will figure out, who you are and what you want to think about. And then that,
Hmm.
leads to thinking and your thoughts. And at the same time, when you're writing and editing, you are thinking about the audience, right? So
Hmm.
what they want to hear. So how you balance and that part. And that's
Yeah,
I
yeah,
just
that's it comes back to consciousness. I've noticed the frame of mind that I'm in. When I say mind, I don't refer to the brain, but I refer to the combination of consciousness and the intellect. So every time, whenever I've come to edit an article, or if I'm in that state of mind, which is secure, which does not desire much, and which is in that genuine state of service and creative expression, I find that even my editing is it just comes out in a way that is simultaneously nice to hear but also helpful. I don't know, I've tried replicating it. I've tried replicating these moments of genius articles, right? They're not phenomenal. What I mean by genius is when that inner inexplicable source was writing through me rather than me doing it. Some other source was channeling itself through me. I look back on those articles and I've genuinely been surprised. Like, there's no way I could have written this. I just like try to reverse engineer it, right? I'm a math guy. Like, my mind thinks pretty mathematically as well. So I've tried reverse engineering it. Like, what was it? What was the sentence structure? What was the flow? What were, the word structures I used? The rhyming, the alliterations, or the sources, or everything like that. Even the article angle. But I've never been able to replicate it. It's mind blowing. So the best work that's come out of me has always been pull. I call it pull versus push. Am I pushing for ideas, or am I just waiting for ideas to descend? I don't mean it just sitting in my chair and letting them come, but then capturing the ones that just come in times of relaxation. In terms of writing, now I've decided to let go of all rules, and I'm slowly refiguring out what I want to write, how I want to write. But writing what people want to hear is not that hard. Once you understand basic human psychology, once you understand how to capture attention. I did that for a good part of a year when in my initial stage I wasn't as developed, I wasn't as evolved. I wasn't writing anything unethical or anything disastrous, but neither was I writing something genuinely life changing. I don't think any of my articles, maybe 95% of my articles in my job era, when I was working my job and I was doing this part time, then each article would just take me 40 minutes, 60 minutes to write, in 90 minutes stops to write, publish, and sorry, to write, edit, and publish. And I honestly, I would earn way more than now. It's crazy. Medium itself has changed now to a more qualitative way. Sorry, I'm digressing. To come back to the point, if I write in flow, it's always what I want to write and what people need to hear. I, by nature, I'm very honest, so it usually comes out way more rigorous and brutal than I intended to be. Then I've noticed 10 on 10 times when I'm sitting down to edit, I soften everything up. I've often prayed for the courage to just ship out whatever I've written. Tim Denning is one writer who does that with minimal editing. The kind of writer who just like spits it out in flow, in that deep state of focus, and he just like keeps shipping it out without caring much about the details and how to craft the article and all that. He's an exception. He's one of those things where the quantity is just so high. that quality automatically emerges out of it. Maybe if you write 10 articles, one will be a banger, one will be a kind of article which will hit you deep, but 9 of them would be like fluff. So the quality, quantity, writing for the readers, writing for yourself, all of this is really tricky. I think this is what makes writing hard. People think writing, just putting words on paper, is the hard part. I think this is where the real nuanced struggle comes out. That inner tension, right? To create something which looks the way it is. So yeah, the inner struggle is a lot for writers. I think that's what we pay. That's what we get paid for so much as well. Not in the modern era, but I'm talking about like contemporaries throughout history and writing as it has always been. Novels, blogs, before the attention economy has kicked in. Now it's all write an excellent headline and that's it. Write one of those, excellent attention capturing headlines and just deliver. Pretend like you're delivering on it. That's it. Boom, you're done. People will lap that up. Yeah. So I don't know if I answered your question, but it is really
you answered. Yeah.
that subjective. Yeah, it is really that subjective.
Thank you. Yeah. Thanks a lot. Okay.
Yes. Interesting. Yeah, that's interesting. So yeah, so then do you have any advice? So again, so to our audience, so as a last message, so we'll ask a lot of questions from, and so you answered a lot of questions. You already answered a lot of questions. So yeah, so our audience who are writers or founders, so like leaders, students, so do you have any advice?
Or modern advice, like, do you have any quotes or motto you have in your mind always in your daily life? Let's say if you come across any difficult situations, or when you wake up, one thing, what is the one thing you always keep talking to yourself?
I think truth. I don't mean truth in the traditional sense, like speaking true or not lying and all that, right? I mean truth in a deeper sense. I think there's a depth to perception of anything, and the visionaries, are the ones who are able to see, like unmanifest and manifest, right? There's only two things: the thing that is not yet there but can be there. I think the visionaries are the ones who are able to see that truth, that unmanifested truth, right? The one, it is still divine. But I think I am more of a less of an imaginative person or more of an observant type. So what I really think about is truth. No matter what, I'm looking for revelations, I'm looking for epiphanies, I'm looking for, no matter what I do, like, let it be right. I don't pray for good or bad, but just that no matter what happens, let it turn out right. Like just the right thing, and let me arrive at a position where I understand myself and the world better. So it's always that deep inner exploration for me right now. At least it's intensified way more. Where I'm scared I'm losing too much touch with the outer world. Not that much, but then there's one quote that I really like. I've put it in my Medium bio as well. I think it's a truth that the modern world is forgetting. It's one thing, as you said, you wanted a motto, right? It's by Mayer Lansky. It goes, when you lose your money, you lose nothing. When you lose your health, you lose something. And when you lose your character, you lose everything. So this is one of those quotes that have really just appealed to me. I'm like, if I had one life lesson, I wish to drill into my own head. Like if I had to just inscribe it on my mind, like at the absolute top of my prefrontal cortex, this is what I would want. I forget this a lot of times, honestly. I'm not perfect, but then this is what I believe the essence of life really is, for me at least. So character is what I mean, the truth within, being true to yourself, being true to the world, being true to people who love you, being true, and not just lapping it up, because we have very few people really talking about truth. In terms, you said you wanted a message for founders, and if there are influential people, you go to LinkedIn, and that's enough to see, quote unquote, thought leaders, right? And yeah, there isn't any original thinking happening anymore. People are just rehashing each other's points and just quoting fancy platitudes, and I'm guilty of the same. I do that sometimes just to, when I'm feeling bad about my metrics, I want to push it up. But there are people I know who don't care that much about metrics and who are real original thinkers, who are real original writers, and they inspire me so much. No matter all, look at you know. So yeah, I would say we as a world would be much better off if we were to look more within and look less out. We are already looking outside for everything, for opinions, for beliefs, for values. Yeah, the world as a whole is lost, and it's easy to get lost in the world. So I think that's the motto I would have. Like, especially for those who already have influence, forget about what people are going to think and just tell us the things that you want to tell us, and like tell the world things that the world needs to hear. Way too many people, because of losing favor, losing reputation, or anything else, right? Sounding smart, sounding fancy. Yeah, the real struggles, the real sort of stuff that goes on, rather than yeah, in this interview I wasn't presenting the most authoritative figure. Maybe I should, I don't know, the bureaucratic machine demands that. But yeah, I think that's the message I would have. We as a world need to be more real, more truer to ourselves and to the world.
Yeah, I really love it. Yeah. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, honestly love it. Yep. Thank you so much for sharing your, all the insights and learnings. And yeah, we really appreciate it. And hope our audience loves it too. Thank you so
Thank you,
much for
thank you.
joining today.
Thank you.
Absolutely, I enjoyed the interview. I enjoyed the questions you guys asked. Amazing questions. Yeah, I could see that you understood much of my points as well, and yeah, thank you. Appreciate that. This was a beautiful chat. I would have loved to do
Thank you.
this even if there wasn't an audience or a recording. So yeah, that's something I really enjoyed. I wish you
Thank
guys
you so
luck
much.
as well with Glasp and with everything else. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Yeah.
All right. All right.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye bye.